Okay, go ahead.
Okay, excellent. So let's get started. Okay, well, thank you all for joining the Nephio TSC meeting. We had a little hiccup getting people on, but hopefully everybody has joined now.
Yes, thank you.
And this is a reminder that the antitrust policy applies to all the meetings of the Linux Foundation. If you have any questions about the policy, please reach out to us or consult your legal counsel. Okay, this is the meeting information, and as was mentioned earlier, this will probably be changing to Zoom very shortly. So stay tuned. I'll let everybody know about that. Next we have, yes, so I did discuss the Etherpad briefly, but since we have added others, I will post that link again. Here, just one second. Okay, there's the Etherpad link in chat. Please feel free to jump on the Etherpad, add yourself as attending. Please also jump in and help take meeting minutes. It'll make them much more accurate. You can raise questions here, create actions, and mainly if we're in a technical discussion, you all are much more of an expert on Nephio than I am, and so it'll just make the meeting minutes that much more accurate. Again, we'll be able to export this Etherpad in just about any format you want, whether you want to keep them on GitHub or store them somewhere else. We can export them in Markdown or PDF or text. So let's give this a try, and please jump in and feel free to help take many minutes. Let's see, this is the agenda. Kendon, you want to talk about the agenda?
Yeah, so I'm actually talking from John's account. So when you see that John is talking, this is Kandan talking. And in terms of the agenda, we wanted to cover a couple of key areas today. We wanted to talk about the TSC next steps, and we want to talk about the TSC voice share selection. Then also discuss about the logistics around the SIG groups. And there are a couple of events that are currently coming up. So let's talk about that as well. So with that, let's go to the slide number 7. And I would request Kurt to take a quick attendance of like who's on the call. And I think some of the people are being represented by their alternatives given vacations and stuff like that. So can you go through the list and quickly take a attendance so that we know the quorum?
We can, yes. So we know you're here. Wind River, do we have Wind River here? Ben, are you here? No.
I see Ben on the call.
Okay, maybe unmute.
He's also registered in the Markdown, so I guess he's here.
Okay, I'll just note that real quick. Let's see, Nokia.
Yes, device here.
There it is, yes. Okay, and Deutsche Telekom. Bernard? I do not see. Vodafone?
Yep, hi, it's Ian here.
Let's see, Oleg. I don't see. No, okay. Intel?
Yeah, I'm here. My name is Sundar. I'm stepping in place of Kathy Zhang. And yeah, Sundar Nadatur.
Okay.
We just put a Sundar N for now, to simpler. Okay, okay, that's fine. Nadathur. That's right, yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. And let's see.
I'm here.
Yeah, I believe yeah. See you earlier. Erickson.
Peter Wörndle, representing Sudi.
Lee.
Yep.
Okay. And Eric. Casa Systems. Casa. And Jane Shen. Daniel with Bell.
Mark Alexander here on behalf of Daniel.
Oh, so it's
Mark.
I'll finish that later. Tell us. Sandeep with
Hello. Yeah, hi. I'm here.
Okay, and Orange Eric. Let's see. We just got a text. Cannot hear my voice. Yes. Yes, audio is working. VMware.
Yeah, Rahuna is not here, so this is Padma Sudarsan.
Okay. And let me do that.
Yes, Erhan Lukman is here from Agila.
Excellent, thank you. Sandeep, Gemini. Sanju, F5.
Yeah, Sanju is not here, so I could take notes for him. Ravi.
Okay. And Sebastian, Kubernetes.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Okay. 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12. Yes, so we do have quorum.
Yeah, so we do have quorum. That's a good thing. So let's go to the slide number 8, please. So a couple of reminder on the TSC items. And this is just to remind that the TSC charter, it is available on the nephio.org website. And this is a link for the charter. And the charter has not changed from our face-to-face meeting. So if you have referenced it already, it's the same charter. And I think the next step I think we wanted to sort of like discuss through is like, I just want to point out that, this TSC nomination for first 6 months, and it is really based on like 2 technical developers or 2 people contributing from your company. So I request you guys to actually have an active participation in the SIG and as well as the TSC related work. As we previously discussed, this is also spelled out in the TSC charter. And 5 seats are reserved for the telecoms from a TSC perspective that is still open. And there are a few more telecoms which are in the pipeline, and they have been discussing to join our TSC as well. So again, this is for the first 6 months, and after 6 months, like this is going to be a merit-based selection on the TSC, right? So I will keep you posted, and once those telecoms are known, and I think we will bring it up to the TSC for the information. Okay. So with that, let's go to the slide number 9. So the TSC regular cadence, Kurt has sent out an email, and I know that some of you have like proxies, and if you're proxying for somebody and you have to be on the same company in that perspective, for example, Ericsson, for example, we have a proxy, and they send out like official email that so and so person is proxying. So if you moving forward, if you want somebody to proxy for you, and I think I would request, like either send an email to me or send to the TSC and the TSC email thread. so that people know that you are proxying for that particular person for that specific time. And right now we have like the call is being set up not every Thursday, like every 2 weeks on Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. PT. And we discussed about this timing, and we adjust this timing depending upon the feedback which was provided on the face-to-face meeting. And again, as Kurt was pointing out, currently Google Meet is being used to set up this meeting, and we will switch to Zoom. And most probably next call or follow-up call by this month, definitely we will switch to Zoom. And Kurt and the Linux Foundation is working to create that account and stuff like that. And so we discussed about the operational procedure. This is actually on top of the charter. The charter primarily has all the procedure from a big picture perspective, but the day-to-day operation of some of the aspect of the community, we agreed that we would write an operational procedure. You can see a link here that, literally we copied this from Linux Foundation Edge projects, the operational procedure that community is using. This is extremely in a raw draft right now. We are in the process of cleaning up. So what we are proposing is that, a couple of sessions to really clean this up as a community and make this like voted by the TSC. And again, this would be a running document, and, depending upon TSCs, how we progress and with the feedback from the community members, we may enhance this document over a period of time, but I think we do need like an initial version. And the goal is like this. The goal is that, we would like to have some volunteers, like if you're interested to volunteer yourself, again, the TSC members and the people, primarily TSC members, we need it. But even if you're not a TSC member, you want to provide like the specific inputs to this document. So we are looking for volunteers. So we will organize like a 1 hour call. And again, I will bring a draft. Again, the link will remain the same. We will clean up the document along with the code. And we will have a quicker discussion on August 11th. And this would be the first round of discussion. Again, we don't want to boil this with 50 plus people. So we are really looking for volunteers who want to work on this first contribution so that we can clean the first draft of it. This is going to be scheduled on August 11th. We will send out an invite if you want to volunteer, and every TSC member will be invited. But we would like to know that you want to volunteer. And if you want to volunteer, either put it in the Etherpad, or you can actually put it on the chat room here, that your name. So we will collect and make sure that you are part of the invite, and we will have a quick discussion to discuss through the document. But again, I'm also proposing like a couple of hours, like I say, half day, but it's almost like a 3.5 hours of discussion that I welcome all TSC member, so that we can finalize the draft on August 18th. And this is supposed to be our TSC meeting, because the August 18th is our next TSC meeting, but I'm saying that we will extend that meeting and more of a face-to-face meeting. If you're not able to join face-to-face, that's fine as well. We will have a Zoom call where you can actually participate remotely. So we will set it up from 9 to 12:30 p.m. PT, and 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. PT. And then we will finalize this document. Again, our intention is to keep this process like a light process and focus in technology mode. But we do need this working document to operate the TSC. So any feedback on this particular item, and again, we will send out this invite on August 11th, and every TSC member would be invited. But you want to actually actively participate, please let us know, so that we can work with you offline as well. We can get this initial draft ready. Any question before we move to the next item on the agenda?
Yeah, I have created a section in our Etherpad for the volunteers list, so we can add our names and emails there, so we can get the invite.
That is awesome. So appreciate that. I think there is a question. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm representing Marvell, new to this group and to Nephio in general. So this is more of a clarification question. How did the TSC member get selected or admitted, or?
Yeah, so the TSC member, there was a nomination, there was a call out for people, and people nominated, then they were elected, and
Okay.
then the selection was announced on our last face-to-face meeting that happened last month, and
Okay.
that's how they selected. So we followed the process to make that happen.
Yeah. So we didn't find out until much after the meeting, so no issue there. Do the volunteers have to be from those company, or can it be
Anybody can volunteer,
Okay.
but when it comes to approval of TSC items, and they have to be the TSC member. So
of course.
yeah, so if you want to actually participate, but again, I just want this to be very clear for the TSC members. This TSC currently in place, this is during the incubation phase, and I really encourage everybody to contribute, because the next round of TSC, that including Google, and have to show that we have contributed to this community, so that we get elected as a merit basis on the next round of TSC. So it's good that people, even if you are not TSC member or a member, again, there is no cost for the membership. So I encourage everybody to join as a member, and just be part of the community, contribute, and even if you're not part of the TSC, you can always contribute.
Yes, I believe Marvell has joined as a member company to Nephio, so I think we're okay there. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Any more questions? Again, this off-day workshop, the plan is to organize on the same face-to-face meeting where we organized in Sunnyvale, and we will organize in Sunnyvale, and this is going to be off-day session. We'll start from 9 a.m. and we go up to 12:30 p.m. So definitely request all the TSC member to participate, but again, all community members are welcome to join. But we want to finalize this the operating principle draft, right? We will review it section by section, and if we have to make any adjustment, we'll do it. Then most probably, for the time permits, we go for a voting on August 18, unless we'll leave it for a week so that people can actually read it offline. Then we'll go for a voting. Satish, please go ahead.
Hi, Satish Sharma this side. I'm the part of Aspirant Communication. I have a question in that direction, that if somebody want to contribute in his or her personal capacity, will that be possible? I don't want to highlight my company name, so.
That is fine, Satish. See, I think this community is not an exception from Linux Foundation process, right? So this is a Linux Foundation process.
Okay.
So I think the bottom line is that you can actually contribute you don't need to be a member in that perspective. You can definitely contribute and join any calls and stuff.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Sure. All right, so let's go to the slide number 10. All right, so the next steps by the TSC member short term. So I think we discussed about this on our face-to-face meeting, but I want to call out this specifically. And so from a charter, we already have a spell out of the vice chair, and it is already in the charter. So with that being spelled out in the charter, and I call for the election for the vice chair for the TSC, because as you know that I am the chair until the incubation period is complete, and we call for a vice chair for the TSC for this incubation period. So this would help us to coordinate activities and help out. And the nominations are welcome. And again, you need to be a TSC member in order to nominate yourself for the vice chair. So anybody on the TSC, you can actually nominate yourself. The link is available here, but again, this deck will be distributed to you, so you don't need to copy and all the stuff. It is on the nephio.org web wiki, and this will be posted by Kurt on the nephio.wiki, so you can actually go and look at it after for the link. But again, the nominations are welcome, and you do need to provide a bio and a commitment of your time and how you are planning to support TSC and stuff like that, headshot, email, your company name and stuff. Those details are already spelled out on that the nephio.org wiki page. So the nomination starts today, and we will end this nomination on 8/17. And then once the nomination is like all done, and if there are multiple nomination, then the TSC members has to vote it. If there are no multiple nomination, then whoever got elected, the TSC has to approve it as a collectively, and then we would have that person operate as a vice chair. Okay. Any question on it? And I think Fabrizio, you have a question. Please go ahead. Right. I think Fabrizio, I think you have a question, or I think you had a hand.
Sorry, I'm mute. I was speaking in mute. I have a question on the previous slide, actually, on the two meetings on the 11 and the 18 of August. I'm wondering if you are going to send a calendar to everyone or just to the people that are listing themselves in the minutes.
So let's go to the slide number 9 again. Let's clarify that very clearly. So the off-day session, the TSC members are welcome, and additional people who want to join, like again, this is a TSC focused thing, right? So this need to be cleaned up by TSC, and TSC has to approve it. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's clear.
Yeah, so that is so from a volunteering for August 11th. I just want to make sure that anybody can join, but again, the TSC members are most welcome, because this is something the TSC work. Community members are welcome, but this is something TSC has to focus and clean up and make sure that everything is done. So the TSC members are most welcome in this session. I also want to point out that Sunnyvale Google Office, the off-day workshop, this is not something we can accommodate 100+ people there. So again, that's why I'm pointing out that this is focused on TSC member. There are 1 or 2 other additional people who want to join. That's fine. But I think it's very important that the TSC member participate on August 18th and also August 11th to sort of help out in getting this document ready.
I see. I was just asking because I am on vacation both the date, and I would like to join. It depends on something. But I don't want to put myself in the list just because I'm not sure that I will be able to join. I for sure will try to join at least on the 18th.
Understood. Understood. Yeah. And I think the people who are actually in vacation, we will circulate this draft document that is getting three sequence of event here, right? So I will clean up along with the Kurt and the same draft what's here. Currently, whatever it's there is like extremely raw draft, right? So there are a lot of unrelevant information there. And they were copied directly from Linux Foundation Edge projects. So that needs a lot of cleanup. So we will do the first round of cleanup and bring it for the August 11th discussion. Then the TSC members further work with us and clean this document. August 18th, we will go section by section, review it, and make sure that any adjustment that TSC member want to do it, we will do it. Then circulate it again. So you have an opportunity, primarily every time we go to this sequence, we will distribute the document. You can actually provide offline comments and stuff like that if you have one.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. And Peter?
Yeah, just one question on the nomination period. Would it be possible to push that out for a week due to vacation time, to have everyone actually given a chance to nominate and check the nominations?
Yeah, I think it's almost 2 weeks in between. We can push it actually. So if you want to push it, we can probably push it up to 23rd, but we can't push it too far away, I would say.
Okay.
So we want to see either we need to get this done by 18th or 25th, and we can push it up to 23rd if that makes sense, because that gives us a completely 2 weeks in between. And
that would be great.
Yeah. So we can push it to 23rd. So we will adjust it. Kurt, I think we need to change the date to 23rd. Okay.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Sure, not a problem. All right, I totally understand. See, I went on vacation, and I totally understand that people, especially in Europe, most of the people are on vacation. So let's go to. I think there was a question whether it has to be on-site participation. On-site is like optional, and we will have a Zoom session as well, so you can actually definitely participate through the Zoom as well. Okay. Let's quickly go to the next one. See, I think there is a lot of great discussion already started happening on the SIG group, but I think we want to officially approve the SIG group because earlier Google team, along with the discussion, whatever happened in the face-to-face meeting, we came up with this SIG group and a couple of suggestions here. And we were originally defined 4 SIG groups. And considering the initial logistics and more we scale the community, we can add more SIG groups. So the recommendation, what we hear from people is that merge SIG group 2 and 3 for now. So basically, what we are proposing is like 3 SIG groups. SIG group 1 will focus on network architecture. Again, this is like a more telecom participation is required, where they talk about requirements, they talk about, like a primarily specifications, so what do they want the community to support and stuff like that. The 2 and 3, that's where it takes the initial Google code, and we are bringing additional code as we have communicated in the face-to-face meeting. And I think the discussion already started happening in terms of like how do we use the existing C code that is already open source by Google, how the structures are coming up. And then more discussion on CRDs and operators and their schemas and stuff like that, right? So let's merge the SIG group 2 and 3, and the SIG 4 still stay as it is. But again, the intention here is that more we progress with the community, if there are additional SIG groups needed, we can actually have that in place. So with that said, let's go to the slide number 12. So what the TSC we are requesting here is that we would like to have TSC to officially approve these 3 SIG groups, SIG group 1 network architecture, and the SIG group 2 automation, and the SIG group 3, which will primarily focus on release. Okay, the SIG group 1 is like more of a discussion on specification requirements and all the stuff, and define like the reference architectures and stuff in more of a requirement from telecom being discussed there. And the SIG 2 automation is more of a coding and develop CRDs, operators, schemas, and the end-to-end solutions and stuff. SIG 3 primarily focus on like the release of, especially this is going to help with respect to the release 1, right? Like the way we discussed in the face-to-face meeting, and I'm emphasizing that, three items here. We would like to carry from Google's side that given that we are bringing code and initial thoughts and stuff for first 6 months, or the first incubation period, what we're calling in the charter, right? So the incubation period, we would like to have these people lead the initial discussions and stuff. And then like once the incubation period is complete, then everybody will go for like a general election in which the chair and co-chair will, or the vice chair will be get elected. So with that said, we are bringing like our resources to help out on this SIGs. So the network architecture, again, as we mentioned, that it would be nice to have telecom lead this network architecture discussion. So we're leaving the chair to the telecom to nominate, and the vice chair, Kaushik from our team, will support from Google. And from automation, John Bellameric, I think you guys know him actually from the face-to-face meeting, and I think the discussion already started on the SIG group as well. So John will be the chair. The SIG group 3, Stephen will be the chair for the release part of it. So with that, let's go to the slide number 3. So I think from a TSC approval perspective, I think let's call for a voting here. I'm calling for a voting here. So on 2 specific things. One is that we would like to call for an election for a chair for SIG 1. And again, the recommendation is like someone from telecom to nominate for that particular role, and the vice chair for SIG 2 and vice chair for SIG 3. And I think that's something, like we should go ahead and elect them. And the nomination is pretty similar to the TSC, but again, we will adjust the date to 23, similar to the TSC one. So, Kurt, I would appreciate if you could change the date to 23.
Could I ask a question? Maybe I'm missing something. I thought we spoke about 4 SIGs during the summit, right? That's a 4th one for a platform. Should have been a kind of reference implementation, right?
Yeah, so what we are recommending is, like, instead of 4, like we are saying that we merge 2 and 3, which will become a platform. So instead of 4, we are recommending 3.
Okay, so the platform becomes part of SIG2, it's automation. Is it right?
Yes, that's right.
I see. Got it. Thank you. All right, cool.
Sure. Okay. So with this information, I think, go ahead, Peter.
From a process point of view, do you want to have confirmation of the 3 persons proposed by Google as part of the vote or approval we do in the election, or can we just confirm them now? Really, just for the record that basically TSC approved these persons. Not sure what you prefer.
See, I think my preference would be that I think there is a general consensus that Google leads on these items, and we shared this on face-to-face meeting. So I think what we are requesting is, like, on now for the approval, I think, like the general information about these roles from the Google perspective. That's number 1. And approval, what we are requesting is that primarily go for election for the roles that I just articulated, which is actually on the slide number 13. And then also approve the SIG groups as well, right? So officially approve the SIG groups, so that we are all agreeing that these are the 3 SIGs that we will continue. And for information, these are the additional people from Google will lead it. Then we go for an election. I think that's what the approval we are calling from the TSC perspective. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. So basically, when we approve the SIG groups, we also approve the current proposed chairs and vice chairs as per what you presented on slide 12, I think it was. And I'm good with that, just to make it clear.
Yes, that is right.
Okay, good.
Okay. So with that, so before we proceed to other work items, and I think I call for this 2 items to be approval, is that the proposal of the SIG groups, like the 3 SIG groups mainly, and the people from Google participating as a chair and co-chair, as we spelled out on the slide number 12. Then call for a TSC election for the SIG groups, and the election starts on now and ends on 8/23. And again, there is a page has been created in the Nephio website, and people can go ahead and actually put their name in. Once the names are in, then the TSC can elect these people in. Okay, so with that in place, and Kurt, can you count the voting? Anybody has any questions or any concerns?
Just a quick one, if I may. It's Ian from Vodafone. Can you just remind me why automation, machinery, and platform merged into automation?
Yeah, so I think the thought process here, Ian, is that initially the discussions are literally converged, right? So initially the SIG people, like all the discussion, we thought like we can have it as very separate, but there's a lot of tie-in between the CRDs and operators, and how does that into an architecture would be literally working together. So I think that is why we're proposing that initial discussion, let it happen as a one single group of people. And then if there is a need in the future, meaning that, if any SIG group members or TSC feel like, okay, we have to separate it later, we can actually separate later. But I think the converged discussion, I think multiple people expressed, even in the face-to-face meeting, that having converged discussion would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, I think, so Kurt, I think, so we can either do call for voting, or we can actually have, like, anybody has an objection, they can ask for it, unless we can assume that this has been approved by the TSC, given that we have a forum.
Well, so you have moved this proposal. Do we have a second for this proposal?
Anyone of the TSC member, can you please second this?
Yeah, I can second. That's Brian.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, with that, like any TSC member has any objection, if you don't have an objection, we assume that your vote is recorded and this motion is passed.
Any objections or abstains? Then this motion is approved.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And we welcome actually your participation in the SIG group. So encourage your team members to nominate for both of the TSC co-chair as well as the TSC, sorry, I'm using this word, a vice chair, and also the TSC part. Charles, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. The SIG2 calls, I believe, were on Wednesday at 9. I'm not sure when the SIG what used to be SIG2 was on Wednesday at 9. I'm not sure when the SIG3 group was meeting. I wasn't on that one. Do we know what the new time will be for the combined?
Yeah,
SIG?
let's go to the slide number 4. We have the answer for that. Sorry, slide number 14, please, not 4.
There you go.
All right, so this is the timing which is in the wiki page, and what we are proposing is that the SIG release discussion happens on Monday, 10 a.m. PT, and then SIG network architecture, the meeting happens on 9 a.m. PT on started from July 25th, but the bottom line is like it's a 9 a.m. PT every Monday. Sorry, it's every other Monday. Similarly, you have SIG automation machinery and platform. So we calling, given this is merged. So right now the proposal is like the Wednesday 9 a.m. PT, the discussion happens there.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Sure. All right, I think Peter, you have a question?
Yeah, just a minor procedural comment. These types of decisions would be good to have them as part of the agenda up front, so we know what's being decided upon. I mean, for example, linking the deck we're now seeing as part of the agenda is really good, because for some decisions we may need to check internally if we agree or not. So getting a bit more details on the decisions up for a particular meeting would be good in the future.
Yeah, that makes sense, Peter. I think more we progress on some of these calls, like I think we can adjust these things. But again,
no problem.
Your point is
normally projects will share the slide deck as well as the meeting minutes in some repository. In this case, Wiki or GitHub or wherever the project decides to. But yeah, that way there's a good record for both the discussion, the proposal, and the minutes for what happened.
Perfect. Thank you.
all right. Fantastic. So let's go to slide number 15. So a couple of other logistics. So we do want to have our presence on some of those Linux Foundation conferences. So the KubeCon is coming up in October 24th to 28th. And a few of the members, they already expressed their interest to have a booth. And unfortunately, we have not submitted like a lot of presentation on the KubeCon. But let's see whether we can find some slots where we can have the presence of our Nephio presentations there. But again, anybody who interested in the booth and you want to contribute and participate, but again, the intention of the booth is that, primarily educate the people, and we will see whether we can actually show a demo using the seed code that is already available and things coming up. Maybe an early version of a demo, but again, it's a stretch goal. It is not committed, but we will try our best to make that happen. So the booth is definitely we want to organize. And again, a couple of members have already expressed. So I think if you are interested, please reach out to me and Kurt, and we can actually coordinate in that perspective. And similarly on the O&E Summit, which is happening on November 15 and 16. But again, we're just catching up on some of this thing, and the summation of presentation, within the main conference, we have not done that. Probably one or two presentation already may be there, but not too many of them. But I think the intention is to sort of see whether we can arrange a co-hosted event in that summit, and mainly focused on the release one discussion. And I think at that point, we should have our C code in and all the stuff. And there's quite a bit of progress made on the TSC side, quite a bit of progress made on the SIG groups as well. So that would help us actually to shape this further. So we can have a very deep dive discussion around R1. Think of this as a developer summit 2. The one which we had it in Sunnyvale was the first one. So we can have the second one where we can get into the detail of the release one in the first quarter, right? So I think that's the intention here. So with that, I think there are two questions. Charles, please go ahead.
Yeah, another thought was there is the open source summit in Europe, which is coming up in September, and I noticed this because the TSC call will occur during that summit, and I'm guessing that a number of people here might be at that, and especially with it being in Europe. Might serve a good opportunity for those given the travel challenges. It might be a good opportunity to, at least for that TSC call, to see about getting a spot for those who are at the open source summit to meet, call in together into the TSC call, and then get to know each other in person a little bit. It was just a thought that came to mind when I was looking at the schedule, and I was curious to see if there's others here who are planning on being at that summit, and if so, if that would be a worthwhile thing for us to, just organize ourselves. Not that we have an official session, just find a room that we can all meet in to join that TSC call.
Yeah, I think that is a good suggestion in my opinion. So if anybody else is traveling into that conference, I think please let us know so we can coordinate on that. Thank you, Charles. And I think one more hand.
Sorry. Yeah, I was trying to unmute myself. This is more of a background question since I haven't been around Nephio. What's the relationship with ORAN in terms of there's a plenary session in October just before KubeCon in Madrid, and I'm just asking, I'm not proposing anything. What's Nephio plan to show up, not show up, connection, not connect, whatever, just for my own information?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things there. In terms of a general Nephio introduction, why we are doing it and how we are doing it and all the stuff, right? So if you're looking for a general introduction, the recording of the 2 days developer session that we had in Sunnyvale last month, that is available on the wiki of Nephio, wiki.nephio.org. If you go in there and under the events and the developer summit, and you can see that recording there in the drive. So I encourage people to just to get a general overview if you have not exposed to the general introduction of the Nephio. But to specifically ask, specifically talk about ORAN versus the Nephio. Nephio is a complementary project to ORAN, and our intention is to support automation of the workloads of the ORAN and some of their APIs and stuff, right? So ORAN is actually defining the specification, and Nephio is implementing some part of it because every part of ORAN is not relevant to Nephio. So we are complementary project, and specifically on the CRDs and defining what the configuration will look like for CU, DU, RAN intelligent controllers, and those sort of components. Definitely, this community is very interested in. But in terms of participation on every conferences that happening on this areas, like, it's really up to the community member if they are showing up there, and there are common community members coming from Nephio and they are presenting and stuff like that. Feel free to be in touch and share information, knowledge and stuff. And feel free to represent Nephio, and especially, if you are a TSC member. And I think going forward, I think we should figure out, if you are going to be in a conference and you can present it, and we can actually create a common pitch deck and additional information. You can bring it up to TSC for discussion. Then we can actually go and present in these communities. But I think once our community, more we progress for a couple more months, I think these activities became like a regular cadence and regular stuff. But I think we are in a very initial stage. So I think, going into every conference would be difficult from a community representation perspective. But I think that's why we are proposing that let's start with the QCon, let's start with the ONE Summit. Then eventually we can participate in other ones as well.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you for the information. I would have attended the May session kickoff, but I was at OSS Austin, so I missed it. The reason I asked about ORAN is because I am right now scheduled to go to all three conferences, ORAN, KubeCon, and ONE, or ONE. If there's any cross correlation presentation of information between ORAN and KubeCon that I can help out, I can do that, since I'm going to be at both conferences.
Thank you. Thanks for your interest. Let's keep in touch on email and see how we can coordinate around that activity. So appreciate your engagement there.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that said, we have one more minute, and I know that there was one more agenda. Let's go to slide number 16. And I think Prakash, you wanted to present something to the TSC today, but I think we are running out of time. Let's sync up offline, and then we can probably slot this into the next meeting. Sorry that we could not accommodate you today.
No problem. No problem. Thank you.
And so with that, any questions from anybody on any topic that you want to bring it up? But again, we will send you an invite for the sessions that we talked about on the previous slides.
Yeah.
Just really quickly,
Prakash.
is it possible to get the SMF use case posted somewhere so we can read ahead of time? Thank you.
Yeah, I have already posted it. It is available. You can review it, but at this time it is too raw, and we will need to edit. Yeah. And
Yes, Prakash, I think I would
does
also
the-
encourage you. I think these are deeper, very, very deeper technology related thing. I'm not sure this is appropriate for a TSC level discussion. So because right now it's more of a formation and those sort of discussion we are doing in TSC. So I would appreciate, if you could bring it up with this SIG SMF discussion in the SIG 2. So yeah,
SIG 2 or SIG 1?
Like more developers and team that are very deep into the technology, they can have that would be an appropriate forum in my opinion.
Thank you. So it is SIG 2 we have to attend. Yeah, to be able to develop this.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so we merged the SIG 2 and 3, so it's a SIG 2 now, so you can actually present it over there. Okay. All right.
May I? This is Fabrizio.
Sure, please go ahead.
Just one comment on this topic, and also to better understand, what we should do in SIG 1 and what we should do in SIG 2. Because this is a use case, and in SIG 1, we should, come out with the requirements. And I see usually use cases related to requirements. So I'm wondering if a use case discussion should be better placed in SIG 1. But this is just to discuss together on what we should put in SIG 1 and in SIG 2, not just for this use case. Just to discuss about that.
Understood. And I think, see, I don't know what Prakash was planning to present, right? So this was like was on the deck, and I don't know the detail. That's why I was proposing SIG2 to start with. But again, if he feels like appropriate to discuss in SIG1, please do it. But again, we are running out of time.
Yeah, I think SIG1 would be appropriate because it's a part of the use case, right?
Okay.
That's what my thinking was. So
Okay.
I will go with SIG1 then.
Okay. And I think you can start with the SIG1, and if there is a need to continue the discussion on SIG2, you can do that as well. So with that, so thank you everyone for joining today. And let's catch up on August 11 with a small group of people to discuss on the details we agreed on. Okay, so with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Appreciate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.